Welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is like pretty surreal. This is so weird.
Why is this weird?
I'm freaking out.
No, you know what? I should be the one freaking out. Do you know how many people I know and people who have like are fans of the show and they've been like, "You're not a show until you get Logic on."
Right, get out
no,
of
I'm
here.
serious. You have cultivated a fan base like very few artists have because many people feel like they still own you. You've managed to have this vibe of being commercial and yet still authentic in the way that you started.
Yeah, it's
Whenever you're doing a show, people like you feel that love from your fans, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's the thing that like keeps me driven and going. It's incredible to know, because I mean, I've just always come up on peace, love, positivity, spreading a good message, being
Right.
yourself, being authentic, and like I'm super nerd. Like I love movies and comic books and all this stuff. So my ascension in hip hop wasn't really necessarily that easy.
Yes.
But to have persevered, stuck to it, and to know that I have incredible fans that are like, hey, I'm a nerd too, and I like your raps, and now I can put out books that they enjoy. It's the craziest experience.
This really is completely different for you because I mean, this isn't just a book. It's not a book about your life. It's a novel.
Yeah.
How do you go from being a rapper, a very successful rapper, to just going, I'm going to write a novel?
You just read a bunch of books and you're like, I could do that. I could do that. Yeah. Like, that's it. Yeah. No, but my buddy, his name's Christian. He's my day-to-day manager, one of my oldest friends. I remember telling him I was reading like all different kinds of novels, and I was
Yes.
like, I really want to do this. I feel like I could, because I was never into literature like that, because like the school system kind of just shoved certain things, you know, our direction, and I wasn't really challenged.
Right.
And I wanted something fun, something edgy, something different. And he was like, yeah, dude, you can't write a book. I'll never forget that. He was like, you can't do it. But he wasn't mean about it. He was like, you just can't read 9 novels in a week and just decide you're gonna write you know, your own. And I was like, yeah, I can. We were like children. I was like, of course I can. And honestly, it was just that belief and him kind of not believing in me in a good way.
That's what you need in life,
Yeah.
someone to not believe in you, to get you where you need to go.
Yeah, I actually dedicated a part of the book. I was like, thank you for telling me that I couldn't do it. That was
Right.
honestly the push I needed. He was really sweet about it. And when I did it, when I, you know, he was like, dude, I believe in you, and I know that you really can if you want to put your whole heart into it. But for me, it was a fun way to express myself different. Because when you have raps, I mean, you have like, you know, maybe 2 to 4 minutes to express yourself in a very like linear,
Right.
short, way. But with this, dude, I could drone on and on about like, you know, produce.
No, but that's what the story is about. In many ways, it feels like you are writing a story about this character who we come to know in the book, who is working in a supermarket, and you know something crazy happens in the supermarket. I don't want to give everything away, but then his life is turned upside down. All of a sudden, you've got this mystery that's taking place.
Yeah.
But there were points of the story where I felt like this story touched a little bit on who you are as a person. You know, him questioning who he is in the world, how he
Definitely.
fits in, how the world affects him as a person. Did you see yourself in the character?
100%. I see myself in, you know, so many of the characters there, even family members, and, you know, kind of basing different people off of them. But for me, I was like in the midst of like battling my own anxiety
Right.
and overcoming depression, and actually like being able to look in the mirror and say, okay, you know, just because you have anxiety doesn't mean it's like the end of the world. And I think sometimes we try to suppress those things because we want to be normal or X, Y, Z. But it's like, man, you got to be able to say how you feel, because I think if you try to just, you know, tuck it deep down, it's only going to do you harm. So being able to write about my angst and what I was going through in my life,
right.
and through the, you know, perspective of this character, it allowed me to heal. And it's weird. I won't get too into it, but there's 2 sections, there's 2 parts of the book. And from the beginning half to the second half, there's a 2-year break in between. And I actually took a 2-year break from the book, writing it in my own life. So when I wrote the first half, felt crippled with anxiety, was going through so much stuff, wasn't really taking care of myself. Now I've like switched that up, you know, exercise and eating well and drinking water and staying hydrated and a little bit of scotch. And then the second half, you know, when he kind of awakens, was my own awakening of realizing, like, dude, like, take care of yourself. You can get over it. Anyone can get over it, whatever it is that you're going through. And it was really special.
It's interesting that you deliver that message, because you feel it in the book, but that is something that you acknowledged in public, you know,
Yeah.
which is not commonly the space of rappers as we come to know rap. You know, it seems like rap is all about bravado.
Yeah.
Rap is all about putting forward this facade. And you came out and said, guys, I'm suffering from crippling anxiety.
Yeah.
I need to get help. And you went in and you were diagnosed with a mental disorder, and you told people about this.
Yeah. But that's what made it easier.
Right.
It's not trying to, you know, like make it a secret. Just being so honest and open and being like, you know, it's not like I'm a weirdo or anything. It's just like I'm just internally having a panic attack right now. But no, just being open and honest with yourself. That's the number one thing, man. And you know, a lot of people aren't because of just what we see and how it's portrayed, you know. And when you look at social media, because I actually have an album coming out. I dropped a soundtrack with this, which was fun.
Right.
It's alternative.
Which wasn't rap, which is interesting.
No, it was all it was indie music and just a bunch of love songs, which was fun, you know, kind of from the perspective of the main character. But there is an album that I'm working on now called Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, and it deals with social media and, you know, how we apply that to ourselves. Because social media is amazing. I wouldn't be here today without having that independent push. But it's crazy to know that there's people from, you know, people who are well known to your everyday hardworking individuals who are, you know, met with such hateful comments and things, and it can really get to you. And that's a big part of what I had dealt with. But overcoming it and realizing, like, you don't need to search for acceptance. You don't need to act a certain way so that people will love you. Like, you should love yourself, and everyone else will follow.
You have a really beautiful acknowledgement in the back of the book where you thank everyone in your life, everyone who helped you put this together, and then you thank your publishers and you say to them, thank you for giving an opportunity to a kid who didn't even finish high school, letting him write a book. But the reason you didn't finish high school is one that I think a lot of kids and a lot of older people can relate to, and that is you lived a really tough life. You know, you grew up in a world where you saw drugs ravaging your family.
Yeah.
You know, you saw your siblings selling drugs even within your family. When you look at that world, what do you think was the biggest factor that got you to where you are today?
I always say, like, God and common sense. In some weird way, you know, when I would see a man beat my mother, I'd be like, that's not what to do. You know what I mean? Like, when I would see my dad smoke crack, now he's clean, which is great. But like, when I would see this as a child, I'd be like, oh, that's not how you treat your body.
Right.
It was really weird, man, because it's very systemic. Like, you see it, you fall into it, you do it. Like, it's like welfare, food stamps, sell drugs, do the XYZ. It's all you know. But I wanted more. I just wanted more, and I wanted to do it in a creative way. And I mean, I like love hip hop. You know, Nas, Tribe Called Quest, Wu-Tang Clan. These were things that people that I came up on, people that in a way raised me. Because even though I have my mom and my dad, I was born out of wedlock. My father wasn't a part of my life, and it was hard seeing my mother struggle and her dealing with bipolar disorder and all these things. It was wild, but I just saw it all and was like, okay, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Don't smoke crack. Like, seriously. And it's been a journey, but it still is, man. Every day is like, it's a struggle, but it's a beautiful struggle. It's life, man. There's no, you know, what's the sunshine without rain?
One thing I've always appreciated about you is
yeah, you know, girl.
One thing I've always appreciated about you is how honest you are, not just in your rap music, but also just as a human being. The novel is fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm waiting to see what you come up with next. Congratulations, man. Thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show. Supermarket is available now. Logic, a.k.a. Bobby Hall, everybody.